Sometimes in football, the circle completes itself in ways nobody could have predicted. Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report, your absolute source for breaking updates, insider analysis, and every rumor surrounding our beloved Detroit Lions. I'm here to walk you through something that's been building momentum in recent days, a scenario that 4 years ago would have seemed impossible, maybe even insane to consider. But today, right now, as we sit at the top of the NFC and look like legitimate Super Bowl contenders, there's a conversation happening that involves the man who started it all, a reunion that could write the most incredible chapter in franchise history. Stay with me through this entire breakdown, because by the end, you'll understand why this isn't just nostalgic dreaming, it's a legitimate possibility that could reshape everything we thought we knew about this team's trajectory. Let me set the stage properly, because context is absolutely everything when discussing potential roster moves of this magnitude. The Detroit Lions are experiencing their best stretch of football in decades, sitting atop the conference with a roster that's firing on all cylinders. We've got Jahmyr Gibbs absolutely demolishing defenses, currently tied with Barry Sanders himself for the most touchdowns in NFL history before turning 24 years old. We've got Jameson Williams finally living up to his first-round potential with back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. We've got Sam Laporta, who set the rookie tight end reception record. This is a team built for championship contention right now, and here's where the story gets fascinating. Every single one of those players I just mentioned, every single piece of this current championship-caliber roster traces back to one transaction. One blockbuster trade that happened on January 30th, 2021 that completely altered the trajectory of this franchise. You know exactly which trade I'm talking about. The trade that sent our franchise quarterback, the guy who gave us 12 years of his career, number 9, Matthew Stafford, to the Los Angeles Rams in exchange for Jared Goff and a treasure trove of draft picks. At the time, it felt like the end of an era. Stafford wanted a chance to win a championship, something we couldn't give him despite his incredible talent and loyalty. The Rams got their missing piece and won the Super Bowl that very next year. We got Goff and draft capital, and honestly, most people thought we got the worst end of that deal. But Brad Holmes and this organization did something absolutely brilliant with those assets. They turned one trade into an entire roster transformation. Those picks became Jameson Williams at 12 overall after trading up with Minnesota. They became Josh Paschal in the second round. They became Sam Laporta at 34 overall. When the Rams struggled and gave us the 6th overall pick, Holmes flipped that into multiple selections and grabbed Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. One trade with the Rams essentially built the offensive core we're watching dominate the league right now. That's not speculation. That's documented fact that makes the original Stafford trade arguably the most impactful transaction in franchise history. But now fast forward to today, December 2025, and the landscape has shifted dramatically. Jared Goff has been absolutely spectacular for us, completely silencing critics who thought he was washed up. He's thrown for at least 29 touchdowns in each of the last 3 seasons, finished 5th in MVP voting last year, and has started every single game for 4 straight years. Goff found his home in Detroit, called this trade the greatest thing that ever happened to him, and has earned every bit of respect from this fan base. However, there's a reality we need to address as students of this game. Goff is 31 years old, and while he's playing excellent football, championship windows don't stay open forever. We have a roster loaded with young talent on rookie contracts. We have a defense that's aggressive and opportunistic. We have a coaching staff that knows how to win. But we also know that in today's NFL, having that elite quarterback who can take over games in crucial playoff moments is the difference between winning it all and coming up just short. And that brings us to Los Angeles, where Matthew Stafford is currently in a very interesting situation. At 37 years old, Stafford is still playing at a high level when healthy, but the Rams are in transition mode. They're not the championship contender they were in 2021. They've lost key pieces, they're dealing with salary cap constraints, and there are legitimate questions about whether keeping an aging quarterback on a significant contract makes sense for their rebuild timeline. Multiple league sources have indicated that teams around the NFL are monitoring Stafford's situation closely. The Rams haven't publicly stated he's available, but they also haven't definitively said he's untouchable. In the NFL, when a veteran quarterback on a rebuilding team starts getting mentioned in these conversations, it means there's at least some openness to exploring options if the right situation presents itself. Now, here's where this gets really interesting from a Lions perspective. Imagine the narrative, the poetry of Matthew Stafford returning to Detroit, not as the young quarterback carrying a struggling franchise on his back, but as a championship-proven veteran, joining a loaded roster, ready to win right now. Stafford would be coming home to a completely different situation than when he left. He wouldn't have to be the savior. He'd be the missing piece on a team that already has all the other components in place. Think about the offensive weapons Stafford would have at his disposal. Jameson Williams stretching the field vertically with his blazing speed, the same speed that's produced over 2,000 yards in 2 seasons. Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield providing a dual threat as both a runner and receiver, averaging over 130 yards per game this season. Sam Laporta at tight end when he returns from injury, already a Pro Bowl caliber player in just his 3rd season. Amon-Ra St. Brown as the reliable possession receiver who does everything you ask. This would be by far the most talented offense Stafford has ever played with in a Lions uniform. And let's talk about the defense he'd be working with. The Lions defense under Aaron Glenn has become aggressive, opportunistic, and physical. We're creating turnovers. We're generating pressure. We're playing with an edge we haven't had in years. Stafford wouldn't need to score 35 points every game just to have a chance like he did during most of his first stint in Detroit. This defense can win games, can get stops when needed, can protect leads in crucial moments. From a contract standpoint, the money could actually work. Stafford's current deal with the Rams isn't prohibitively expensive for a team with our cap situation. And if Los Angeles is willing to eat some of the guaranteed money as part of a trade, the Lions could potentially acquire him without destroying our financial flexibility. We'd likely need to send draft picks back to L.A., which would be ironic given they originally came from them, but Brad Holmes has shown he's not afraid to be aggressive when he identifies an opportunity. The Rams' perspective on this matters too. If they're genuinely rebuilding and looking toward the future, getting draft capital back for a 37-year-old quarterback makes strategic sense. They could accelerate their rebuild, get younger, and position themselves for the next competitive window. It would be acknowledging reality rather than trying to squeeze one more year out of a situation that isn't working. Now, I need to be clear about something. This isn't me saying the trade is happening or even that it's likely. I'm exploring a scenario that makes sense from multiple angles, a reunion that would be unprecedented in NFL history but not impossible given the current circumstances. Stafford returning to Detroit to win a championship with the team he loves, playing with talent he helped acquire through his own trade, would be one of the greatest stories in sports history. The emotional component cannot be ignored either. Stafford never got to say goodbye properly to Detroit. His exit was handled professionally, but it wasn't the farewell a 12-year franchise quarterback deserved. Lions fans have nothing but love and respect for what he gave this organization during some very difficult years. Bringing him back wouldn't diminish what Goff has accomplished here. It would be recognizing we have a championship window right now and exploring every option to maximize it. Picture Matthew Stafford taking the field at Ford Field in Honolulu blue again, this time with a supporting cast that can actually help him win. Picture him connecting with Jameson Williams on a deep ball down the sideline in the playoffs. Picture him using all that experience and championship pedigree to navigate crucial fourth-quarter situations with this loaded roster around him. That's not fantasy. That's a legitimate possibility if the right circumstances align. The timeline could work too. We're approaching the off-season when these kinds of seismic roster moves happen. The Rams will be evaluating their situation after this season ends. The Lions will be assessing whether Goff is the guy who can get us over the hump if we fall short in the playoffs. Stafford will be deciding how many years he has left and where he wants to finish his career. All of those conversations could converge into something special. Brad Holmes has proven he's not afraid of bold moves, trading up for Jamison Williams, trading up for Jahmyr Gibbs, signing key free agents to win now. This is a management team that understands our championship window is open and isn't going to waste it being conservative. If they identify that upgrading at quarterback gives us a better chance to win a Super Bowl, they'll explore it regardless of how unconventional it seems. So here's where we stand, Lions fans. Matthew Stafford potentially returning to Detroit is real enough that people around the league are discussing it. The football logic makes sense. The financial framework could work. The emotional storyline would be incredible. And both teams could benefit from the transaction. This isn't me saying pack your bags and get ready for a press conference tomorrow, but it's also not me dismissing this as impossible fantasy. Now, I want to hear from you. Would you support bringing Matthew Stafford back to Detroit? Do you think he'd give us a better chance to win a championship than Goff? Are you comfortable potentially moving on from a quarterback who's been fantastic for us if it means reuniting with a franchise legend? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because this conversation matters and I want to know how Lions Nation feels about this possibility. And if you're as obsessed with this team as I am, if you want breaking news the second it happens, if you want detailed analysis that goes beyond the surface level, you need to subscribe to Lions News Fan Report right now. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join our community of dedicated fans. We're covering every angle of this team's championship pursuit, and you don't want to miss a single update. One Pride, let's go get that championship.